batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Remember the days when a superhero didn't need a six-pack, just a bit of a belly squeezed into the glorious light blue and gray spandex of the 1966 Batman? It was an era where every punch conjured words like pyo, zam, and BFF, looking less like a brawl and more like Batman was practicing his spelling mid-fight. And can you actually believe it? That great Dark Knight once used a spray to fend off a shark and even donned yellow trunks for a surfing contest against the Joker. Talk about a responsible Batman. Yet few realize that behind Catwoman's alluring presence, filming those seductive scenes was a horrific ordeal for the actress. But let's toss aside the brooding seriousness of modern directors, because Batman, 1966, is a pure comedic feast. So buckle up as we count down the 15 moments from this classic that audiences have hit the pause button on the most. 20. Catwoman's seductive scene. Julie Newmar was fuming while filming. Recall that moment clad in a shimmering jet black bodysuit, Catwoman stepped through the door and breathed a hello. It was a mesmerizing display of physicality, leaving every man in the room utterly spellbound. Behind the scenes, looking that sleek, was a literal battle. Julie Newmar's suit was crafted from ultra-tight knitted lurex fabric. She later revealed that getting into it was such an ordeal she could barely breathe or sit down normally. Plus, did you catch the golden belt? It was Newmar herself who insisted on dropping the belt down to her hips to accentuate her hourglass figure and create a more feline silhouette, a move that completely shifted the era's superhero fashion standards. And the best part, no stunt double needed. Julie was a trained professional dancer. 19. The stinky egg battle at the McDonald farm.
Let's give him a taste of our knuckles, shall we?
If there were an award for the most wasteful food fight in cinematic history, the crown would undoubtedly belong to the egg-hurling spectacle at the farm. Just imagine the Dark Knight and the Boy Wonder, instead of using batarangs or elite martial arts, are busy dodging eggs. Eggs flying through the air created a scene that would honestly make me fall off my chair laughing. Little did we know Egghead was a character created specifically for this series and was played by the horror legend Vincent Price. Interestingly, Price absolutely loved the role. He frequently pelted the other actors with real eggs after the director yelled, "Cut." To create the messy visual effect, the crew used hundreds of real eggs instead of plastic props. As a result, after every take, the smell of raw eggs under the scorching hot studio lights became an olfactory nightmare. Adam West himself once joked that he felt like a walking omelet for an entire week. 18. Fending off sharks with shark repellent.
Hand me down the shark repellent bat spray.
If there is one scene so absurd, it's the showdown between Batman and the shark. You know, the one Batman is dangling from the Batcopter's rope ladder with a shark clamped firmly onto his leg. A quick burst of white spray, and the shark instantly explodes or plummets back into the sea. In reality, that shark actor was a borrowed prop from the 20th Century Fox archives, essentially a stuffed toy. To make it look like it was actually biting, the crew had to use wire to lash its jaws onto Adam West's calf. and take a look at the Batcopter's utility shelf. It wasn't just shark repellent. There was barracuda repellent, sea bat repellent, and even whale repellent. The writers leaned into the ridiculousness mocking Batman's habit of being over-prepared for even the most impossible scenarios. 17. Batman's Bad Day.
It's all right, Robin.
Holy heart failure!
Fortunately, I was able to dispose of that bomb in the nick of time and shield myself behind these heavy iron pipes.
It's impossible not to mention the moment Batman runs frantically all over the harbor with something sizzling in his hands. Ironically, everywhere he goes, he hits an obstacle, from mothers pushing strollers and lovers in mid-embrace to a flock of ducks. But Batman refused to throw it into the water just because he was afraid of harming the ducks, proving a heart so kind it was unbelievable. This is considered one of the most classic comedic scenes. To complete this footage, Adam West had to run back and forth under the scorching sun with a fairly heavy prop. This moment has become an immortal meme, a symbol for those days when it seems like the whole world is conspiring against us. 16. The most heartbreaking scene, Catwoman's true identity is revealed. Do you remember this scene from the movie Batman is chasing Catwoman, and boom, he discovers she's actually Kitka, the woman he's in love with? Did you happen to catch the haunting melody playing as Batman gazes at his beloved? The song is titled Plaisir d'amour, and its lyrics translate roughly to, "The joy of love lasts but a moment, the pain of love lasts a lifetime." In this version, Catwoman crafted a sophisticated double life as Miss Kitka, a stunning reporter, who successfully charmed the legendary Bruce Wayne. But here is a twist that few people know. At the time, Julie Newmar was sidelined by a back injury and couldn't join the film's production. Lee Merriweather, a former Miss America, stepped into the suit. 15. The Great Surf-Off Batman versus the Joker.
Cowabunga! Cowabunga! I won! I won! Batman came in second!
Remember this? On a sun-drenched beach, Batman and the Joker emerge in colorful swim trunks, worn right over their superhero costumes. They grab their boards, ready for a high-stakes aquatic duel. Notice Batman's yellow trunks. Adam West once shared that layering two costumes under the California sun was pure torture. It made certain areas look a bit substantial, if you catch my drift. Yet he had to maintain a stone-cold expression as if he were attending a world summit. Here's the secret: while it looks like they're riding giant swells, West and Cesar Romero were actually standing on boards bolted to wooden platforms in a studio. Behind them was a rear projection screen, and to sell the realism, stagehands threw buckets of water directly into the actors' faces while they struggled to strike heroic surfing poses. 14. The Bat Climb scaling walls and the famous window cameos.
They should be, boy wonder. It's almost Christmas. Ho, 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 ho.
Welcome to Gotham City, Mr. Claus.
You definitely haven't forgotten those scenes of Batman and Robin clutching the bat rope, conquering Gotham's skyscrapers. Then, out of nowhere, Santa Claus just pops his head out the window for a chat. In reality, Burt Ward used to complain that this wall climbing was pure torture, because they had to crawl across hard wooden floors in tight costumes for hours just to record a short clip. The duo often ended the shoot with bruised and aching legs. Those window cameos became a signature staple of the series. In fact, A-list stars of the era didn't hesitate to beg the producers just to be featured in that window frame. 13. The Batusi Dance and a Lesson in Civic Duty. Recall the scene at the What a Way to Go-Go nightclub amidst flashing lights and upbeat jazz. The Dark Knight suddenly starts partying with total enthusiasm. But here is the funny part. Immediately after the episode aired, the Batusi dance ignited a massive craze. Nightclubs were flooded with people mimicking Batman's famous finger-wagging moves. The band The Markets even released a Batman theme single that shot straight up the music charts. What's remarkable is that even while grooving to the music, Batman never forgot his mission of civic education. When a girl approached to offer him a drink, he declined with ultimate cool. Thanks, but I'm on duty. A steely moral lesson right there on the dance floor. Unmistakably, 1966 Batman style. 12. A fishy mayoral election.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? Station KGOM is very happy and proud to bring you a debate between the candidates who are running for mayor of Gotham City. I believe the Penguin will lead off the debate.
Recall this scene to stop a plot to take over Gotham through democratic means. Batman was forced to remove his heroic mask and run for mayor himself. This was the height of political satire, where promises were mixed with the smell of rotting fish. The writers cleverly embedded ironies about how politicians bribe voters, while the Penguin promised free tea and cookies. Batman solemnly lectured on morality and morning exercise. The legendary actor Burgess Meredith crafted an unmistakable penguin. His famous quack quack laugh was actually a way to hide a cough caused by cigarette smoke. And during the election scenes, he acted so intensely that the prop fish began to smell pungent. Additionally, the crew actually staged real parades on the streets, complete with dancers, bands, and signs saying, "Vote for Penguin" or "Batman for Mayor." This actually led locals to believe a real election was happening. 11. The scene where Robin almost became a cake.
I wouldn't want you to make your exits without knowing exactly how it's to be done.
You hateful hussy!
The scene where Robin nearly turns into a literal cake is truly the pinnacle of witty suspense. Recall the moment the boy wonder is strapped to a giant tray covered in flour and butter, slowly sliding into the villain's fiery oven. Burt Ward once shared that this was one of the most terrifying shoots. To create the glowing light from the oven, the crew used high-wattage bulbs. Sweat poured off him under his tight costume, yet he had to struggle to maintain a face of pure terror. Under the sweltering heat, the smell of burnt rubber was horribly putrid, making the whole crew feel like they were lost in a tire factory. But that was just a small part of Burt Ward's tearful days. Unlike Adam West, the young Burt often had to perform his own stunts without a double. He ended up in the hospital more than a few times due to pyrotechnic mishaps or collisions while climbing ropes. 10. Batman and Robin pull into a drive-in to enjoy some Batburgers and orangeades.
I'm honored by this tribute, miss. 2 Batburgers, medium rare, and 2 glasses of orangeade, doubles.
Recall the image of the sleek, menacing, and weapon-laden Batmobile suddenly pulling into a humble drive-in. Instead of pursuing criminals, the dynamic duo sits patiently waiting for a car hop to approach and take their order. Even in the heat of a mission, Batman remains the quintessential model citizen, never once exploiting his status to solicit a free meal. As they enjoy their quick bite, Batman never misses an opportunity to weave moral lessons for Robin. He might remark on the virtues of a balanced diet, the vital importance of vitamin C in orange juice, or simply the necessity of not littering from the Batmobile to preserve the environment of Gotham City. This represents the pinnacle of the didactic charm unique to Batman 1966, a world where a nutritional lecture can seamlessly interrupt a tactical operation. 9. Bruce interviews himself.
Batman? Yes, Mr. Wayne. Have you heard Mr. Freeze's scurrilous demands? Just briefly. If Robin and I act as go-betweens, are you prepared to make the telecast at midnight and pay the ransom, Mr. Wayne?
Recall one of the most convoluted yet classic diversion tactics in history, Bruce Wayne staging a fake dialogue between himself and Batman. This is undoubtedly the most peak phone conversation in cinematic history. The hilarity lies in the fact that despite both voices emanating from the exact same throat, Chief O'Hara and Commissioner Gordon stand right there nodding in complete and utter belief. The true charm of the scene is found in Bruce's deadpan seriousness. It was a masterclass performance by Adam West, as he had to pivot his psychology and vocal range in a split second to deceive those eavesdropping on the line. 8th, POW Bam Slunk. Recall those vibrant, multicolored brawls. Instead of realistic sound effects, we were treated to a visual feast of giant graphic fonts taking over the entire screen. But what led to this strange addition? In reality, American television regulations at the time were incredibly strict. Showing Batman actually punching a criminal in the face could have resulted in the show being immediately red flagged. To bypass the rules, producers came up with a bold idea. Why not use graphic panels to cover the moment of impact? Thus, the radiant POW signs appeared cleverly hiding the fact that the actors weren't actually touching each other at all. Have you ever wondered where wacky words like zlonk, wham, or zee-zwok came from? As the writers began to run out of ideas, using standard words like hit or punch, they started inventing sounds. 7. The Joker in white laughing with manic abandon.
Come, Stanley! Come, Ernie!
Behold the Joker's symphony of madness. In a departure from his traditional purple suit, the stark white attire serves only to accentuate his garish makeup and that iconic ear-to-ear grin. If you observe this sequence closely, you will catch a legendary detail in cinematic history: Cesar Romero's steadfast refusal to shave. So devoted was he to his trademark mustache that he insisted the makeup artist simply coat it in a thick layer of white grease paint. The result under the unforgiving studio lights was a mustache clearly visible beneath the Joker's face paint, lending him a look that was as wonderfully bizarre as it was unforgettable. Romero once shared that he crafted his cackle from high-pitched staccato bursts, creating a manic energy that stands in stark contrast to the brooding, somber iterations of the Joker that would follow. 6. The Batmobile Race. When producer William Dozier needed a car for the movie, he gave a deadline of only 3 weeks. George Barris, Hollywood's famed car modding wizard, seized the chance by buying the only Lincoln Futura in existence at the time for an unbelievable price, exactly $1. Turning it into the legendary Batmobile remains one of the greatest bargains in cinematic history. You must be impressed by the blast of fire every time Batman hits the gas. In reality, that was a gas-powered stove hidden inside the exhaust pipe. In a few shots, the flames shot out so powerfully they nearly turned Adam West's satin suit into a grilled dish right there on the set. 5. The evaporation of the World Security Council.
Success! Success!
They've done it! They've done it!
Success! Success! We've done it! We've done it!
Recall the classic scene from the 1966 feature film. 5 members of the World Security Council suddenly evaporate, leaving piles of brightly colored dust right in their seats. Those remains were actually just cheap colored sand and crystal powder bought from craft stores. To create the effect, the crew had to mix in some shiny glitter. Adam West once wittily joked that cleaning up the Security Council after the scene was actually a nightmare. In the script, Batman was extremely worried about these precious piles of dust getting mixed up. An interesting behind-the-scenes detail is that Adam West had to perform the scene holding a test tube with intense concentration. Because if just a light breeze from a studio fan accidentally blew by, the fate of the world would have instantly scattered all over the room. 4. The library scene between Batman and the Riddler.
As you can see, Batman, by the deadly weapons we hold, you'd be fools to move.
What are you doing here?
Checking out a book.
Checking out a book?
Do you recall the library brawl between Batman and the Riddler in the episode A Riddle a Day Keeps the Riddler Away? It remains one of the most quintessential action sequences of the 1966 series. Rather than a simple display of brute force, the Riddler transformed the library into a chaotic labyrinth. Frank Gorshin, with his signature hyperactive performance and high-pitched cackle, leaped across reading tables, hurling books as long-range projectiles at the dynamic duo. The crowning touch was the iconic POW, zaps, and whack graphics that filled the screen with every punch. Within the hushed sanctuary of the library, the contrast between these vibrant onomatopoeias and the classic wooden bookshelves created a truly delightful visual irony. 3. Penguin Protective Agency Incorporated.
This is the most fantastical gimmick in my whole criminal career.
It was one of the most hilariously iconic moments of the first season. In the episode, the Penguin Goes Straight. The Penguin suddenly claims to have reformed and opens his own security firm called Penguin Protective Agency, Inc. Instead of committing a robbery, the Penguin uses high-tech gadgets to thwart a jewel heist at a high society gala. When Batman and Robin burst in intending to make an arrest, they end up looking like nuisances harassing a law-abiding businessman. Burgess Meredith as the Penguin perfectly captured the gentlemanly persona clad in a tuxedo and top hat, clutching his cigarette holder and wearing a triumphant smirk. 2. A monkey's ridiculous artistic talent. Do you remember the moment a monkey almost won first prize in an art competition outshining actual artists? The crowd gathered around, whispering about the creature's aesthetic vision, while Batman and Robin looked on with pensive expressions. This was a jab from the writers at the abstract art movement booming at the time. Letting a monkey nearly win wasn't just a gag. It was the show's way of questioning the value of art. After the episode aired, several abstract artists in Los Angeles, actually, sent complaint letters to ABC. They claimed the show was insulting the intelligence of the viewers. But producer William Dozier simply smiled and said, "If a monkey can cause a stir among critics, the fault doesn't lie with the monkey, but with the critics." 1. It is the duty of every good citizen in Gotham City. Batman's classic line when facing this bizarre situation inadvertently became a guiding light for the citizens. Little did anyone know there was a reason behind this scene. The 60s were a time when America was feverish over the space race and the psychological shadows of the Cold War. Embedding the Martian detail was the writer's way of using laughter to soothe the vague fear of things beyond control. Batman at this moment embodied a public reassurer. Don't panic over the strange, just report it according to protocol and everything will be fine. And here is the secret that gave this line its life. West was instructed to deliver it with total seriousness, as if he were reading the Constitution, in the most ridiculous setting possible. These 20 moments are not just mere entertainment, they are a testament to a cinematic era that was creative and unafraid to be different. Batman 1966 didn't need CGI effects. The film conquered audiences with its sincerity, its sometimes naive moral lessons, and a masterclass in satirical humor. It was the meticulousness in every cheap prop, Adam West's laughably serious lines, and the rare behind-the-scenes mishaps that created an immortal monument in the hearts of fans. Which gadget or scene of the dynamic duo in the list above impressed you the most? Leave a comment so we can look back on the unforgettable memories of Batman's golden age together.